Oof, this guy's a piece of shit. And I guess apparently there's been a rise in high speed chases in Detroit. So,
It
let's
ended
go.
in an officer-involved shooting that happened in Warren. In a different chase, an alleged repeat offender reached speeds of up to 120 miles an hour.
That is crazy. We have also told you about efforts to cut down on those high speed chases, including Dearborn Heights installing GPS trackers that can latch on to those cars that are being.
Yikes! Wow. I guess is part of this reason is because Detroit still have its history as the motor city, so a lot of people here can cheaply afford and get a lot of sports and muscle cars because this is the place where they're manufactured and this is the place that they come from. Not to mention the fact that yeah, you got like groups of people that be on like ATVs and dirt bikes and what have you. So it's a lot of pursuits here because a lot of people in Detroit just like to drive fast, and I just wish that people would be a little safer out there. That's my commentary on that. Not a little safer, a lot safer.
Pursuit.
Joining us now to talk about the causes and some of the possible solutions to this.
You see this guy right here? This is the reason why I picked this video. This guy is a piece of shit, an authoritarian, fascist, fucking ghoul face, fucking gray haired little bitch. And he's like he should be the face of the reason why we need police reform, or if you're far to the left enough, police abolition. And if nobody else or any other video is able to convince you of reasons why we need police reform, just watch this stupid motherfucker.
Growing problem is Steve Dolip, former assistant chief of Detroit Police Department. Thank you for being here with
Who had that kind of job.
us.
Thanks for having me.
So why do you think that we keep seeing so many of these chases happening?
Because you don't get in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
ever since COVID, it's almost like we're encouraging you to commit a crime. Like, you're not going to go to jail because it's a death sentence. It's
Yeah.
not a death sentence anymore. And just a crazy concept. If you don't
This was stupider than I remember it being. Am I on the right video? Like, am I really here on the right video? You think that like during COVID, people were just like, don't get me wrong, crime went up because people anxiety, mental health, anxiety went up, depression went up, mental health went down, and a lot of people were trapped in with people that were abusive, and a lot of people got desperate, especially people who didn't qualify for like Michigan unemployment. So that's why you would have seen a rise in crime during the COVID pandemic, not because people just like feel like committing crimes because the police won't come. Because people in general, as human beings, especially the so-called, I can't say that word, but the blacks that you police during that time period are not inherently violent people. No human being is, and people will only commit crimes when they are desperate.
want to go to jail, don't commit a crime.
Right. I know.
I mean,
I know.
oh my gosh.
That is rocket science.
That's why I picked this fucking video. You have got to be kidding me. This guy's over here looking at him like he's a damn fool. I wonder if I was ever to get this guy to talk to him, do he really think people are just that fucking simple minded? Like, I would want to ask him, why the fuck do you think people commit crime? Exactly like that, with the profanity and everything. 'Cause I really want to know this son of a bitch's answer. But here's my answer. Again, and I guess I just kind of said it during the COVID gobbledygook that he fucking said. They're gonna flag my video for talking about that shit. But people commit crimes because they are desperate. Things like, murder, armed robbery, gang violence, and even things like, rape and stuff like that happens in places often at a time where it's very impoverished. You have a higher rate of, an X amount of types of crimes, but especially I'm assuming, drug dealing, armed robbery, and, murder. People are not committing these crimes because they are inherently violent. Like, if you really go to the average, person that could be a criminal at, let's say, 20 years old, and you ask this person, like, how they grew up, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows, and his mom dressed him up to go to school every day, and and then he just saw the rap music or heard the rap music talking about violence and gangs, and he just gave up on life and went in the wrong direction. Hootie doo, poor Timmy. No, that's a very simple-minded and dumb, like ghoulish fucking way of looking at crime and criminal justice. And anybody who looks at crime in such a way, saying that, oh, people just commit crime because they think it's fun, you should not be allowed to wear a badge anywhere.
It is rocket
So
science.
let's slow down.
Okay, sorry. I got ahead of the thing. Sorry.
Yeah, way too far.
Way too far.
But why do you think stricter penalties then haven't been enforced for people who are driving 120 miles through areas where there could be kids, pets, people walking?
It's political. People are going to jail. Okay.
You ever notice that the police always go here? Because there's probably a reason why, you know, certain crimes or, you know, don't carry certain sentences, or certain the police can't do certain things. And every time this conversation comes up in any way, shape, or form, whether it was during like the George Floyd stuff up till now, but I really noticed it then. But it's been going on since the police have been, like, you know, been a thing since they were busting unions and being slave catchers, I'm assuming. But especially when as municipal police departments have existed, is that when the federal government does not allow us to abuse and mistreat people, extrajudicially execute people, or, you know, put people in jail for excessive amount of time for small crimes that were not like violent crime against the individual, our hands are tied, and it's political. So what we need is to get these bastards off the street, and we need to send in our hunters to get them. Like, okay. And I know I just like built off a lot before he was able to say anything, but I've been hearing this argument for fucking years now. And the answer to, you know, crimes like these street crimes of any kind is not more jail time or to rack on felonies and what have you to ruin people's lives, because that does nothing but increase recidivism. That does nothing but make a person actually want to give up on life and become a criminal. Now, it's not up to me right now to say what we should do to people that get caught speeding or street racing or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't feel as though people should be in jails for excessive amount of times for speeding or street racing. Because it's dangerous to the public and it's dangerous to that person. But I feel like a small jail sentence can teach somebody a lesson about that. And maybe if you catch them again, you talk about increasing the sentences and stuff like that. But don't ruin somebody's life because they were going like 60 and a 55, and then because you know when you create a law like that, especially, you can, like, it gets so fucking murky about what could something like possibly be. You know, what could be a felony, what could ruin somebody's life. And, you know, and I don't think necessarily I'm educated enough to talk about it and fully, because I'm not actually arguing with somebody to build off of, because I wish I was arguing with this fucking Ronald Reagan ripoff looking motherfucker. But, you know, I'm not arguing with him, so I don't want to throw out suggestions when, you know, I'm not necessarily arguing them back and forth.
For minor crimes. And then police were getting in these pursuits, accidents, innocent civilians were being killed. And I understand that. We don't want anyone killed, civilians or police officers. But they keep saying, well, it's a property crime. Everyone here, behind the camera and on the camera, have jobs.
Yeah.
And they drive here. If I take your car, I'm taking your livelihood. You can't afford insurance anyway in Michigan.
Yeah.
But
thanks, people like you possibly working with the insurance companies to make sure people can't afford insurance. Not to mention the fucking fact, like, okay, if your car gets stolen by somebody, it's other ways to track it down and to find a vehicle besides engaging in pursuits. People are not telling the police to not do anything about stolen vehicles. People are saying that the police just find better ways to deal with stolen vehicles besides pursuing them. That's the argument to be made here. Because when the police are pursuing a stolen vehicle, though that could be somebody's livelihood, number one, the police are going to tear that car the fuck up 9 times out of 10. Two, the police actively pursuing somebody adds more fast moving vehicles into the mix. And you can see how, and then a person is going to drive faster and take more risk. So now we get to the point where it's even riskier, and this person is even more likely to, wind up doing something that actually gets them or somebody else hurt or killed. So that's the argument being made, is that pursuits, as we know them, this is not a video game. This is not one of your fucking police training videos where you're wolves hunting in the night and you gotta get the bad guy and protect the sheep. This is real life. Real people are on the street trying to fucking cross the street. People don't want to be trying to fucking walk across grass shirt, and you got 10 cop cars. Like, where the fuck do I go? Do I block the car with my skateboard?
Right, so you make a choice. Well, maybe I don't have insurance. I got to put food, clothing for my kids. It's a property crime. It's not a property crime. I'm sorry.
It's a property
crime. These people are taking over your life.
A car is property, isn't it? A car is your property. A car is not harm to your person. So, I don't understand the argument that's, really being made here, where he's dishonestly trying to virtue signal at caring about people's livelihood, while at the end of the day probably being as far to the right as you can go on socioeconomic issues. I can sense that shit a mile away. Somebody who's for harsher sentences, somebody who's anti-police reform, I doubt that you really give a fuck about working class people and the things that they deal with, because if you did, you wouldn't have been a cop anything. So please stop fucking virtue signaling. A car is property. It's a property crime. Not to mention the fact, dude, do we want to get into what I'm not going to even talk about mass shootings right now and the police fucking standing there and shit. We ain't going to even go there.
Livelihood and risking other people's lives.
One more ad hominem, because I'm tired of this shit. Because it seems like to me, when you catch a 15-year-old stoner kid, a little punk that stole a fucking car, the police is ready to go in and hunt the bad guys and protect the community. But when it's shit like school shootings or Nazis doing marches or hate crimes and all this other shit, then y'all well, they're not really hurting anybody, and we would have get in there. We don't want to risk officers' lives by stopping this thing and free speech and all that other stuff. You notice how motherfucking hypocritical all these fucking cops are? How they claim to severely care about the well-being of people when it comes to doing solving the easy crimes or ruining somebody's life, but when it actually comes to being heroes and doing actual heroic acts, the police are constantly fucking making excuses about why they can't do this, that, or the other. Just saying.
And the legislature's going, well, that's not important right now.
Yeah. For people who, see these things happening and sometimes
he
get a little nosy.
He said that because the Michigan legislators mostly are Democrat. And anything that's trying to, or even the Detroit City Council too, and anything that's trying to get the police to be quote, harsher on civilians, any of these bullshit bills that he's got cooked up in his swoop back fucking just for man ass head, just won't pass.
Want to get in the way, that could also create even more danger to an already dangerous situation. What are some of the things that people should do if they see one of these situations in progress?
Well, not stop and film it, right? Pull up your phone, get out of the way, pull over to the side. Don't follow the police. Let them do their job.
This is an argument, if you ask me, against filming the police. See, a lot of cops will do this shit talking about some don't film the police, so that way the police can more often at a time get away with police brutality. This is why the police don't like being filmed. It's not because it interferes with them doing their job. It's not because because he's not anti-police filming on some type of principle keeping you safe. He's anti-police filming to the point where it's about stopping you from filming what the police could possibly do to the driver, especially let them be black or Hispanic or whatever, or even Arab, or even like be like a little punk white kid or something like that. You know, he doesn't want the police to be filmed abusing their authority. And he's disingenuously selling this as a safety measure to not film the police.
And like this thing on the expressway, that guy, he didn't care. I mean, they had to fire a shot in to stop him. He was hitting police cars left and right. So they need, and I've seen what you had the chief of Farmington Hills and chief of Warren on earlier. They're right. You need stricter policies on to tell people, okay, you want to do the crime, you got to do the time. You got the guts to do that, you have to do the guts to do this, and that's what we need, so everyone's safe.
What are your thoughts about like those GPS tracking devices that are now being used?
Okay, well, how are they doing? Are they throwing it at the car? I seen that. I went, wait a minute.
Maybe it's like one of those Hot Wheel things.
How are they? Seriously, how are they doing
Yeah,
that?
seriously.
It's kind of like,
What?
sounds like something from Batman, but they throw it there and it latches onto the car, and for
Yeah.
so much time they can track
Okay, I like that.
that vehicle.
If bring it close enough to the car.
Yeah.
I like the helicopter better.
Yeah.
Because, okay, everybody back off, the helicopter follows, we're good. Rolling down my window and throwing a thing at a
Simple.
car, or even shooting some, I have to focus on the car in front of me. And too many times officers, inexperienced officers, get tunnel vision and they don't see you or them, and then people get hurt and killed.
Yeah.
Damn, maybe that's an argument for why police shouldn't chase people at high speeds. Like, you just made your own argument against you, man.
And the drivers of the car, stolen cars have tunnel vision.
Yeah.
For some people, they may think, well, why chase? Because that's dangerous, like you said, Amir. Sometimes that's in neighborhoods. As a former officer, can you explain the need to get after that person in that moment?
If I don't catch you, you're going to do it again. Oh, I love that when you go to court and they say, it's his first offense. He woke up that morning and said, I'm going to steal a car and go on a police chase. And no, it's not his first. It's the first time getting.
So what, you gonna fuck his life up so you don't have no choice but to like keep committing crimes to survive? Usually when it's somebody's first offense, and it's like it's been shown through the statistics, people who gets slaps on the wrist or get released to social and job programs wind up being productive citizens. People who get their lives ruined with felonies wind up, recidivizing very often, or are partaking in recidivism, where they are not only carjacking, they could get into murder, get into street, dealing with street gangs, or any number of foul activities, because once they have a felony on their record and they've been in prison for 10 years or so everything that they've known in the whole world as they could have known or seen it has changed. They no longer have the same any opportunities to better themselves. So this bullshit where it's like, oh, they committed a crime once, they're gonna do it again when they get out. Not always, all the time. Not to mention the fact, often at the time when people are committing crimes like, Grand Theft Auto, if people are if some young person, dude, is stealing cars, it's either one of the two types of people. You either got some poor young man or woman, or anybody in between, who doesn't have a lot at home, who needs literally just a shoulder they can hold on to pull them forward through whatever dark shit they're going through at home. And/or you got a privileged little scumbag who thinks they can just do stuff and get away with it because their family is rich. So in between those two things, I'm assuming is most likely the latter rather than the one I said after that. And ruining a kid's life because they wanted to try to get a car to sell or get some sort of transportation, because it's literally people when they steal these cars, it's I done known people who literally go grocery shopping, they get around, run errands, they make their life a little bit easier until they abandon the car. Now, I'm not saying stealing cars is okay, But what I am saying is that there's reasoning behind the madness of why somebody would steal a car. And people are not stealing cars or any other motor vehicle because they think it's fun to just like hurt people.
Caught on his first offense. Been there, done that, chasing somebody. Sometimes I admit I was up to 121 day and I thought, what am I doing? But if you don't let them get away with it, then you're good. If they get away with it and keep doing it, insurances keep going higher, your life's at risk, everyone's life's at risk because they're not doing anything to these people.
Yeah,
It's
which is odd. You know, because
Yeah,
there
which
are
is odd because we're not actually doing anything to incentivize people to not commit crime besides punish people, which further puts people's lives behind constantly. It is very odd, man. It is very odd because there has to be something else we can do about crime besides, you know, quote unquote, punish people so they don't do it again.
are some people who are innocent bystanders. Maybe we saw
Absolutely.
that in one of them got their car hit, but there are others who intentionally will drive out to try to be a cop too.
Emphasis on try to be a cop. So then you pull your car out and stop the police chase. What's your insurance company going to say?
You did it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what if you pull out and you get hurt? Police department's going to say, well, why would you do that? Well, I was trying to help you. Let us do our job. You go to the academy, you want to help us. But don't put yourself at risk or your family at risk. And what if stupid in the car says, okay, what if he has a gun or she has a gun and you try that and they shoot at you? I'm not into vigilante justice, and I appreciate the police. I've seen officers getting assaulted, people helping them out, but use some common sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like we see these incidents more now than when you were out
Oh, yeah.
in that time?
Social media. You were talking earlier about the L.A. It was entertainment.
Yeah.
Let's chase OJ. It's entertainment. And how long did that chase last? And how fast was he going?
Not all that fast. Lasted a long time. As a child, I remember watching that whole
Exactly.
chase.
Unfortunately, I was an adult, but thanks.
Sorry.
But anyway.
Ahmed Weather.
Yeah. Hey, help. But it is kind of entertainment to a point. It's like
Yeah.
you can't put your head away.
I think we're all becoming a little bit more desensitized.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
it.
Oh, to crime, absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's there every day.
Well, switching gears, recently we announced the arrest of a suspect, finally, in the murder of Samantha Wool, the synagogue president who was killed outside of her home. Now, we also talked about the fact that they only had so long to hold that suspect, otherwise legally they had to release him. That is what happened. A lot of people are angry at that happening. Can you give us some insight just on police strategy and the way things work and why that had to happen?
The short version is they thought they had enough there, probable cause, to take you into custody. They didn't say they had arrested him for the murder of. They said they had a person in custody for the murder of. Okay, semantics. They had someone in custody who they believed had pertinent information or was involved in the crime. But you have 48 hours. And apparently the statements he made to the police were ambiguous enough where the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office came where they said, time out, let's cross the T's, dot the I's, let's make sure when we get this person going to trial, we win this case. I don't lose it on technicality. So I give them credit for trying to get the person in. I give them both credit for saying, we gotta let them go. And the community's upset, but, and I've been in the community, I don't think they have to fear. This is, I believe it's a known suspect. He's not gonna do anything in your community or the Jewish community as a whole. It's not a hate crime. Based on prior experience to multiple stab wounds, it appears to be maybe a
So what, are cops warriors that know what to do, or are y'all like unsure about some things? Which is it, man?
jilted lover, maybe, some kind of crime of passion, or you screwed me at work somehow. Yeah, I don't think the general, and I could be wrong, I don't think it's the general public or the Jewish community have anything to fear.
All right. Well, Steve Dolan, former Assistant Chief of the Detroit Police Department, thank you so much for being.
Fucking idiot, bro. The end of that was kind of boring, but he did say a lot of dumb shit. Sorry, this might have been kind of a boring video, but hey, what can you do?